righty. As we want to respect your time, and we know that a few people might be joining us as the time goes, we want to respect those that have been on time. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Maggie Helmer, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Michigan High School Esports League. And today we have Ryan Casey, the director of the Michigan High School Esports League with us, and Jacob from our partner Play Versus, who will be helping us today with our Esports 101 webinar. If you have not, please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know who you are, where you're from, and something that you want to learn today. Before we begin, please use the Q&A system. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those as the webinar goes, as well as at the very end if we haven't gotten to anything. And you can also upvote those. Use the chat to add any ideas or comments. And then as a note, the slide deck and recording along with some resources will be shared with you following the webinar. It may come to you by tomorrow sometime. And then I am just as a heads up, Michigan High School Esports League has had a lot of different acronyms that play into it, because we do have our partner, our platform partner, Play Versus, who our league ops run through. And then, for instance, Ryan and I both work for the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. And we also have a student side of the Michigan Student Leadership Group, which is the Michigan Association of Student Councils and Honor Societies. But all of those different organizations are all Michigan High School Esports League. So we just wanted to clarify that for you. I know it's a lot of acronyms. So we are the Michigan High School Esports League, but if you see MASSP or Play Versus, etc., those are all through us. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jacob for some deeper dive into the platform.
Perfect. Thanks, Maggie. I will go ahead and share my screen now for a couple slides here. And just let me know if any issues getting this up. Hopefully, looks like it's going to work well. So yeah, anyways, nice to see you all today. My name is Jacob here with Play Versus. So let's just go over a little bit of the agenda and what can be expected. So I want to touch on who Play Versus is, what we can accomplish together, when does it start, so the important season dates, things along those lines, where you all can compete, how to get started, why to get started, and then also, of course, the Q&A. So to kind of start here with who is Play Versus, we will go ahead and first introduce myself, who is the representative here in the state of Michigan for Play Versus for all new schools. So I would be your first main point of contact throughout your entirety of your first season as far as the Play Versus side goes. And then after that first season, then Mike Buck, who is the returning schools representative, will kind of be your main point of contact going forward. So to kind of touch on Play Versus as a whole, Play Versus is a leading amateur esports platform in the United States. Players come together to compete, fans gather to spectate, and coaches can easily manage their programs all in Play Versus. So as you see here, we've worked really hard to create credible partnerships that support our mission of powering competition for everyone and everywhere across the 50 states. And we've seen tremendous growth over the first 4 years of Play Versus. So what we can provide to coaches and players. So we can provide a couple things, such as, the most popular game titles, such as League of Legends, Rocket League, the Nintendo titles like Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart, and more. So that's going to be, a place to play a lot of these games at the esports level competitively. And then with some partner-only benefits, with Play Versus, we have a partnership with Nintendo. So we can have the game downloadable codes for each Nintendo game provided to schools at no cost if they choose to compete in those titles. For instance, with League of Legends, with our partnerships, we're able to unlock all the champions for that game, giving the students access to the champions or characters that would typically cost, in real life money, essentially, to unlock, to kind of help even that playing field. And then through our partner with the NFHS, Play Versus is the only place to play recognized varsity level esports. So we require a coach to facilitate all of this. Sorry for the little bit of a tongue twister there, and take care of some of the operations as far as competitions, et cetera, et cetera. So to kind of touch on what is possible and what we can accomplish together, we actually have some statistics that I really like to share because they're pretty awesome to see with, what we are able to do. It's important to know that most esports athletes are reporting that this is the first time they participated in an after-school activity. I think that goes without saying. That information alone is an encouraging motivator to bring more school pride to these students than seen previously. In addition, esports has a variety of skill levels and are all welcome here at PlayVersus. Our coach-led leagues allow them to bring their interest to a place where their skills can be learned, developed, things like teamwork, communication, leadership, it all ties back in, and kind of going through the esports experience. And looking beyond the immediate benefits, we found that, creating a space for students to enjoy esports has led them to new projects and ideas that can continue their career paths for the long term. Example, we've seen students kind of lead the way on designing team logos, team jerseys, banners that maybe get hung up around the school, just other stuff outside of actually playing the game that helps contribute to, the program of esports at their school, and then also just enhance their natural abilities and kind of help, create a foundation for the future with some of these other, transferable skills. We actually had sent out a survey last season, or I guess this is technically 2 seasons now ago, that actually saw a lot of really good statistics. 91% of the students said that they saw improvements in socializing, 83% in communication, 78% in leadership skills, 73% in mental health, and 72% in sportsmanship. So it's pretty awesome to see these numbers and just kind of be able to see it in value, exactly how these students are feeling after their experience playing in esports. So to kind of touch on why now, some of the benefits that we can bring and things like that at the school. So number one, a good reason is with the free Nintendo Switch bundle, free game copies for the Nintendo titles, some of the free in-game content. It's never been easier to kind of get started with a seamless process of bringing esports, onto your campus. Right now, we're just wrapping up that Nintendo Switch promotion that's allowed us to supply hundreds of Switches to programs across the country and quite a few here in Michigan. And then we'll also be able to provide game codes for all of the games at any time for the Nintendo titles. And then things like the champion unlock for League of Legends and things along those lines touched on a little bit earlier definitely makes it kind of a seamless process getting started, maybe with that first team or first couple teams, whatever it might be. So definitely easier than ever to kind of get things set up and running here. And then to touch on the titles and the actual schedule of the days they'll be played on a little bit. We offer 8 different titles to compete against other schools in, with the 3 most popular ones being the ones that we have that Michigan State Championship and Michigan Specific League for with our great partners here. That would be League of Legends, Super Smash Bros, and Rocket League. And those are played on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, respectively. Each game will be at 4 p.m. local time once per week. So kind of once you're in the groove of things in that regular season, you'll be having 1 match per game, per team, per week at the same time and the same day of each week. So it gets pretty coordinated and the schedule stays pretty consistent throughout the season. And then some of the other titles that we're able to offer at a regional level will be Splatoon 3, NBA 2K, Mario Kart, Hearthstone, and Madden. So just a couple other games there that, maybe the students might be interested in beyond some of the core titles that we have with the Michigan High School Esports League.
Jacob, just before we move on, Nicole did have a quick question in the chat about some kids use Nintendo Switch and not always a laptop, or does it depend on the game? And that is correct. It does depend on the game. Majority of the Nintendo games, you will be using the Nintendo Switch, but then other games, you can use a laptop or a console, It just depends on which game title you are looking at. And we do have resources that note what technology can be used to play those games.
And I'll also add as well, for a lot of the Nintendo titles, it's it's not like each kid needs their own Nintendo Switch and able to play. So even though a lot of them are team-based, meaning might have 3 people on a team, 4 people on a team, you would only need one console, and then they would just like hand the controller off, possibly, or they would just need their own controller. So it's not like you have to go out and buy 12 Switches. You can absolutely get by with 1 or 2 maybe to be able to have a lot of kids participate.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you all filling me in on that because with these slides up right now, I can't see the chat. But absolutely, to kind of keep things really brief and touch on that, League of Legends and Rocket League are typically played on PC, and then Super Smash Bros. Is played on the Nintendo Switch. So definitely a little bit of variety there. And, happy to answer any questions as well, kind of after we wrap up on, what might be the best equipment to look at based on, maybe what titles your interested students are in a whole. So. And speaking of the games, kind of wanted to share a couple things that we actually had happen here in the fall, and that is the champions for each individual game here in Michigan. So League of Legends went to Novi High School. Novi, incredible program. Out of the 12 semifinalist teams across the 3 games, they had 4 teams out of those 12 there. So definitely want to recognize them. And then Divine Child ended up winning in Rocket League, and Belleville won for Super Smash Bros. In the previous fall season here.
Bloomfield Hills for Smash.
Thank you. I'm not sure how that happened, but
Belleville was, I think, a quarterfinalist or semifinalist, and there's a West Bloomfield. There's a lot of schools, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, next time I see their coach, I might have to apologize and definitely get this updated for next time. What's the point of winning if you're not going to make it on the slide, right? No, I'm kidding. But anyways, to touch on the league structure here a little bit, we actually ended up adding something new to the platform over this past summer break that we've seen a lot of success with, and that is the smart scheduler. So to reduce the number of forfeits and the impact that forfeits had on other teams, we ended up developing this smart scheduler. And the goal of the new system was to allow teams to play during their originally scheduled match time as often as possible. So for your first week of competition, every school will join into the smart scheduler queue. And then upon successful match completion in that first week using the smart scheduler, your next matchup will then just automatically be scheduled, and so on and so forth. So definitely seen way less forfeits this season than previously before. So we're really happy with the way that this is kind of rolled out, and definitely has led to every team that wants to play essentially having a match at that given time. So not showing up and, having the other team completely be missing. So definitely nice to see that we've been able to add that. And then the dynamic match reporting also included right on the Play Versus site. Coaches will be able to input game results as the match progresses. This feature will enable coaches to view match results as the games are being played as well. And in case you need to discuss those results with the opposing coach or anything along those lines, you're actually able to communicate with the opposing team's coach, and it will show you next to their name if they're a coach or, administrator for that school, to kind of help you get a little bit of an identifier there. And then one thing to touch on as well that I find to be really helpful for new schools especially is going to be the scrimmaging feature. So our scrimmaging tool is a completely free platform that allows you to create scrimmages to compete against other schools in practice matches. So these games won't count towards your regular season record or have any implications for playoffs or anything like that. It's essentially a platform to be able to find schools that are looking to practice the same game at the same time as you, and kind of give an opportunity for those students to be able to get more time engaged with these games, kind of get practiced up for the regular season, things like that. If you look through the scrimmaging lists before the season starts, you'll see a lot of schools, probably some even local to you, looking to practice. And it's always a good thing to, get the students prepared by having those practices, and also test your hardware by doing this. If it's your first year, definitely a great idea to get a couple scrimmage games in or a few practice games in, just to make sure that everything on the tech side is going to work out great. So definitely something to keep in mind there. So to touch on when do we start? So to kind of run a few season dates by you, registration is currently open right now. So definitely plenty of time to sign up still. And then we actually have our early bird enrollment here ending next week. So 6 days from now is going to be when the early bird enrollment ends. The early bird enrollment kind of helps a little bit with the pricing. There's a little bit discount tied into that. We also have discounts for some Title I schools, and we'll touch on that here shortly. But anytime between now and the next 6 days, we can still get you locked into that early bird pricing. And that's going to go ahead and enable that 20% discount. And then also don't have to worry about like paying next week or anything like that. We can hash those details out down the line a little bit. So that'll lead us right into the preseason, which will start in, I guess, the first week of February, technically. And it's going to be completely optional to participate in the preseason. It's 2 weeks long. I candidly recommend, if at all possible, looking forward to the next season, try and get in there if you can, get a few practice games in. Definitely something to consider. And then our final registration deadline is going to be February 10th. So we're about a month out from our final registration deadline for the spring. That February 10th date, probably the most important date for the entire season, because that's going to be the last day that you can officially enter a team into the spring league.
I do want to just make a note that the preseason that Jacob has touched on is a great opportunity, if you are able to take advantage of it, to really get used to the platform, get your players on, get them used to, using the technology, and figure out if there's anything that, like, say that you've gone through your technology and you think everything's set up, but then you hit a snag. Instead of having to deal with forfeiting a game, you are able to figure it out during the preseason. So we would highly recommend it. It gives you that time just to get all those kinks out and get you ready for the season. We understand it's not required or anything. We understand that you might not necessarily be able to, but again, just want to emphasize preseason is a great opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing to note on that too is even if you could do 1 week of the preseason, I think that goes a really, really long way. So 100% right there for sure, Maggie. Thank you. And after that preseason wraps up, that's going to be when the regular season starts. So the following week will be the regular season start, and it will run for 8 weeks long. Every game will be played once per week at its given time. Each team gets one bye week. So probably going to be a spring break week for most schools this upcoming spring. Every school can declare that week as their bye week, and they won't be scheduled for that week. And other than that, it'll be every single week up until the playoffs start. So the postseason will start in early April. It's just a bracket like any other traditional sport where the winner will advance on to the next round and the loser will be done for the year. And then that will lead us into our actual state championships, which will be late April at Western Michigan University. Super excited about that as a Bronco alumni myself. So super excited for that event. Should be a really good time. And our previous one in Oakland was spectacular. So I think this should be pretty awesome.
Thanks, Jacob. And just as a note, we have secured the date for April 29th. It is a Saturday, so that your students don't have to take off school, but it is a Saturday, and we will be at Western Michigan University.
Absolutely. And if anybody's traveling out there and needs some recommendations on places to eat, places to check out, just reach out to me directly. I think I've got Kalamazoo down pretty pat after my 4 years there, so can definitely help out with that as well. So to touch a little bit on how do we start? So first of all, the website is going to be probably the best place to go to get potential more resources, and then also sign up, create your account, and familiarize yourself with the platform at PlayVersus. I'll say it's very, very user-friendly. I'll say that because I'm a part of PlayVersus. I say that very honestly. It's a pretty user-friendly site. And then after that, once you get your account created, you can start to enroll and assemble those teams. And then after you get some teams set up and things like that, it'd be a great time to kind of check out some of the equipment, test the IT stuff, maybe, set up a few of those practice games or hop in the preseason, things like that to make sure that the equipment and IT side of things are going to work. And then once you've got through those scrimmages, you're going to be ready to compete. Happy to help anybody on an individual basis with any of the more nuanced side of, the hardware stuff. Of course, always able to reach me via email, phone, anything like that with any of the more nuanced stuff that might go wrong, or potentially, with equipment or hardware side of stuff. So to touch on the pricing here a little bit, this is going to be our spring pricing. We have a couple different options here. And just note, this pricing that you see on the screen currently does not include that early bird pricing discount or any of the Title I discounts. Things like that can definitely, change the cost here a little bit. But the actual original dollar amount for each player pass is going to be $80 per player pass. So that player pass will be good for one student, for one title, for one semester. And then we also have the unlimited, which is going to grant you access to as many teams, as many students as you possibly could ever have. So that will be total unlimited access for $1,500 a semester. We do have some other kind of special deals right now that might include 3 seasons, things like that. Be happy to talk on an individual basis with each school on exactly what we can do as far as maybe getting that early bird discount on there, or a Title I discount if your school applies for that, or potentially that 3-season plan as well, which can be quite the discount if you're looking to go for the upcoming spring semester and then the entirety of the academic next year. That'll also get you a little bit of a discount. So that's going to be kind of just the recap of the pricing, and be happy to answer any questions here quickly. I know I think Maggie and Ryan had a few slides of their own to share. I'll kind of browse the chat if that works for you all, and maybe answer anything that's in there in the meantime.
Thanks, Jacob. We appreciate you kind of walking us through kind of what Play Versus does to support the league. There are a lot of discounts out there. One of the big ones that we try and push and promote as well is there's a really cool referral policy. So basically what it means is if we can get a current school or returning school to refer a new school that joins our league, both schools can get up to $500 off their enrollment fee. So for potential new schools, for the people on this webinar right now, if you know that one of your neighboring schools in your county, or maybe in your athletic league, heck, maybe you've got a cousin or a family member that's a teacher at another school, or a niece or nephew that plays, well, it doesn't matter what the connection is, both schools can get $500 off. And then next season, if you're a returning school, you can refer another school, you both get, so you can do this as many times as you want. It's kind of a really organic way of getting the league to grow, because we would love to see, just like schools compete on the volleyball court, on the football field, we want to see crosstown rivals competing, in the computer labs for esports. And it's a great way to do that. So Maggie's got our slides up. So we just want to kind of talk specifically about our league and some of the benefits of being in our league. It is our 3rd year in existence. So we actually started this during COVID, during the shutdown, when remote learning was taking place, because students were able to use their own device and compete from home. We try and explain to administrators and athletic directors, because obviously nobody wants to take one more thing on, but there's no transportation, there's no refs to secure and pay. We just need a safe space for kids to compete, and we need an adult to be able to provide them that, a safe and appropriate experience, and kind of help communicate things going on in the league. So it's not like we're asking for gamers to be coaches or anything like that. But it is a really easy setup to get started. We are a varsity level league. So the expectation is that students would receive a varsity letter after they are on the varsity team. So what does being on a varsity team look like? You can actually control that a little bit. You might have multiple teams playing on the same game. There could be a varsity and a JV. So it's only the varsity kids would earn it. Or maybe they have to play in so many matches or earn so many points. That's kind of up to you. But we say this because we want to have high expectations for our student athletes, whether it's football player, track star, or an esports athlete, right? They have to be in school. They can't be getting referrals down the office. They have to be getting good grades. Just like you hold the traditional sports kids accountable, we can have that same kind of expectation for these kids, and they will meet those expectations. As Jacob pointed out, we have a fall and spring season. So we had a great fall season last fall. We set records. We'll talk about that in just a second on how many schools we had participating. And actually, I think that's wrong. It'll be 8 or 9 titles coming up here this spring season. Our kind of mission statement that we came up with our advisory board is to provide a safe, competitive, and curricular environment that allows student athletes the opportunity to build all these really critical skill sets beyond just computer science or IT or game design. There's a lot of things related to communication and science and broadcasting and communication skills. And there are so many different awesome career paths associated with esports. It's a $200 billion industry, video games. So, there's a lot of different career avenues if people are passionate about video games or esports, where they can take this into a career or some sort of post-secondary experience. And Our advisory board that help us craft this mission and vision statement are all fellow esports coaches from different schools of different sizes all across the state. So we meet regularly throughout the year to try and make improvements to our league experience so coaches and kids have a great time. You want to talk about some of the numbers here, Maggie?
Yes. So as we have started our league back in 2020, we have grown tremendously. Now, knowing that some schools only compete for one season, we always compare season to season versus like fall to fall versus fall to spring. So as you can see from our fall of 2020 to fall of 2021, we had a huge increase in the number of teams that competed, as well as the number of schools. And then spring 21 to 22, we also had a nice increase in schools and teams. But looking at fall of 2021 to fall of 2022, this was our biggest season to date. We had, I believe it was 56 schools and 187 teams total, which is absolutely huge for us. We had a 75% increase in schools and 53% increase in teams from the previous fall season, which is absolutely amazing. As you can see on the map that is on your screen, the little, these are our logo. You can't really see it that well, but these are the schools that are currently participating. As you can see, we can get people all the way in the UP that are able to compete with schools, sorry about that, that are all the way down in the Detroit area, which is absolutely amazing because these schools might not always compete against each other otherwise in other sports because of like travel purposes and, you know, different school sizes. So at this point, we've got a nice variety, and our goal is to continue to grow. This spring season, we're hoping to set another record. And then I'm going to let Ryan touch base a little bit on our upcoming events that we have that kind of make the Michigan High School Esports League very unique for esports in Michigan, because there are other high school esports leagues out there, but we do a little bit some extras that make us very unique.
Yeah, so you know, as Maggie mentioned, there are other opportunities to play, and some of your kids are already playing already, right? They're playing on tournaments on the weekend, or they're playing in virtual leagues already. Maybe that might be hosted by a college or somewhere even out of state, believe it or not. But besides just our really awesome, you know, week-to-week league play during the school year, we also try to provide really cool events, kind of more of a regional approach, if you will. So we're trying to engage different parts of the state. So, for example, we're working on having a game at Wayne State Fieldhouse with the Motor City Cruise this winter. We're working on, so basically students would come compete on the court, and then afterwards they go watch the basketball game. Same concept with our friends at Grand Valley State University and the Grand Rapids Griffins. We're going to do a Rocket League tournament at GVSU and then head over to the hockey game where all the kids will get a ticket to watch a hockey game at night. Divine Child High School is going to host an individual Smash Brothers tournament for us. And then, as Maggie mentioned earlier, we're going to have our championship at Western Michigan University. So we're trying to engage different parts of the state. Those are going to be in-person in-person experiences. We also do virtual tournaments. We host new coaches webinars. So that's going to be on February 1st. So if you're kind of worried or you have somebody that's somewhat reluctantly agreed to do this for you and they don't know what they're getting themselves into, we have our super coach from Divine Child High School, Eric Hines. The great thing about esports is all of the coaches, and we see this at the college level with all of our college directors, at the high school level, they are so collaborative. They want to help everybody out, as they love doing this. And so they love helping people out. They'll come to practices, they'll Zoom with you, they'll chat with you. They love giving back and helping build up this program. So we have a lot of people that can help with that. We do different cool strategy sessions for players on Twitch at night. We just got our second ever college intern that will work with us. He is a student athlete at Eastern Michigan University. And then what's really cool for next year, we're planning a student shoutcasting competition. So shoutcasting is a huge component of esports, where it's basically like that color commentary that you see for football or basketball, and they're kind of explaining the gameplay, and it's just really, really well done. Kind of like you see statewide speech or forensic competition. It's gonna be the same approach, except it's gonna be for kids recording and capturing, eventually doing it live, a play-by-play for an esports game. And so we have that. We're going to continue to grow that. We did a conference this last fall for educators, parents, students, and coaches on things related to career and college opportunities for esports. So just a lot of stuff going on with our league, and coaches and schools that are part of our league will have access to all those things. So it's we're really excited about the new things we're doing each and every year, each and every season.
And I did want to just add something in about the new coaches webinar that Ryan touched on a little bit. And I know that we've kind of touched on here and there, is that, you know, esports is new and upcoming for high school, and it's new for a lot of schools taking on this program. But one of the benefits of, you know, working with Playversus, and then also having, you know, so many people willing to help and collaborate and help build the program, is that you can have zero knowledge about esports or gaming and be able to start a program and be successful within your first season. So, you know, we've got the supports, we have resources to help you get started. You don't have to be an expert in esports. Your students are going to be able to take on some of those leadership roles because they know the games, they know that information, they know the lingo, and they can take more of a leadership role with the team. So just wanted to put that plug in there to, you know, hopefully ease some anxiety. You might not know anything about it, but let me tell you, your kids are excited about this opportunity and would be happy to take on some leadership roles. Ryan, if you want me to, I can just touch base on this. We have also been working with Nina Davis, who is our, she's our associate director for the middle level here at the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. And she has started to build a curriculum for a middle level club program for esports now. And so we are calling it MHSEL Prep. This was piloted this fall, and we are hoping to be able to roll it out as an official curriculum for schools here later this semester. It's a great opportunity to start a feeder system for your high school teams. The middle schools are very excited about these opportunities, especially in esports, and being able to have that feeder system for your esports program in high school is a great opportunity. So Nina's email is on there. If you have anybody that is interested in that program, please feel free to reach out to her, or obviously you can reach out to us and we would be happy to get you connected.
There are some of our dates, as we kind of talked about a little bit already, for this spring, and Playversus does have an interest survey just to see where folks are at. If you want to capture that QR code and fill that out, you don't have to. If you're pretty sure you want to get going on this thing, like I said, you can start it by reaching out to myself, Maggie, Jacob, or heading over to playversus.com and start setting up your account. This is just a video. I don't know if the music will play. We'll only play like a minute or two. So if you, sometimes it's hard to understand, like what does this mean for kids, right? When you might see them practice, but when you actually see them competing, for me, I always equated to back when I used to be a high school principal, we did FIRST robotics for the first time. I saw the kids tinkering in the room, they're putting stuff together, and I get what a robot is, but then I went to my first ever FIRST robotics competition, and that's when it clicked. The music's playing, kids are high-fiving, people are in the stands cheering, and you get to see the excitement and the passion come to life. And so this is actually from our spring championship. I'm still working on the video from last fall, so it's not quite done. But maybe if you want to hit play, there's background music. If the audio doesn't come through, I don't think it is, but that's okay. I'll just talk a little bit while the video is playing anyway. So we were at Oakland University like we did for this last fall. And you actually find out a lot of the colleges are kind of refabbing a lot of their student center spaces. So back when I was in college, we had ping pong machines and pool and other different types of games, like little mini theaters. They're getting rid of all those and they're putting in esports arenas and whatnot. So this is kind of like their auditorium with a giant screen. And then attached to this is a little kind of esports spot where kids can come anytime to just play video games and log into their account. So but you can see kids are excited. They're clapping, they're celebrating. A lot of the schools that come to these events, they have esports jerseys. So we have kids that get to wear a school apparel or something with a school logo on it for the very first time. Maggie and I talk to kids at these events all the time, and it's like, you couldn't drag this kid to go to a football game and watch a football game, but they will sit here for 6 hours straight watching people compete on esports. Maggie handed one of the players a medal around their neck because they get a championship and runner-up trophy and medals, each kid at this event. And he was almost in tears because he said, this is the first time I've ever gotten a medal for anything before in my entire life. So we go back to that 45% statistic that Jacob shared, and we absolutely can connect and engage with a group of kids that have never been involved before. And this is a population of kids. They just, all the other traditional things have not clicked for them, but this absolutely does. And they'll instantly have a group of people they can sit with, at the lunch table again. They can have the athletic director give them a high five, say, hey, great job beating so-and-so in Rocket League last night, right? So it's those kinds of experiences that we can offer them. So I think that's good enough for the video, Maggie. I just kind of want to give them a little bit of sense of kind of what it looks like and what it's all about. We also put together with Michigan Virtual a free introduction to esports course. It's going to go live in about 2 weeks on the Michigan Virtual catalog. So whether it's for a prospective coach you're thinking about it yourself, or just anybody who's looking to get a couple sketchies and this might kind of pique their interest, it is a free course. And so that'll be on the, again, Michigan Virtual catalog by the end of January. Otherwise, that is the contact info for Maggie and I. So we're just kind of leave it here. If there are any questions for us or Jacob while we got you. Maggie mentioned earlier, we are going to send the slide deck out in a copy of this video. So we'll get that info to you. We had some people that didn't end up coming on that did register, but we got some time yet before the spring season starts. We'd love to have you get started with us this spring. It sounds scary because it starts technically halfway through next month, but you absolutely can be up and running. We just got to bring some cookies or brownies to your IT guy to, butter them up a little bit to make sure they turn on the filter so the kids can play the games. But really everything else is pretty turnkey, ready to go to get you up and running.
I did know that Nicole had asked at the very beginning that she wanted to learn, what type of equipment that she needed, and if the school laptops were adequate.
Yep.
I will be sending a link with all the hardware specifications with the follow-up email so that you have all that information. I do know a lot of the laptops, I believe, usually work. A lot of the time that we have an issue with is the firewalls, and that's really working with your IT team. I do know that Chromebooks, like Google Chromebooks, we do have an issue. We run into an issue with being able to play games on those. Is there anything else that I'm missing there, guys?
No, I mean, basically, if you have something that can play the game, then you can compete in the league. So, I mean, yes, some schools go all in and they buy $2,000 Alienware desktop computers, but those teams can get beat by somebody playing on a Nintendo Switch, which costs $350. So, you can go as high end as you want, but, to be kind of good stewards of money for school, we have a lot of schools that try to have a multi-use type of approach where a dual purpose room where maybe during the day, it's the credit recovery room and you're on the credit recovery laptops that were purchased with ESSER accounts. And then after school, they're not being used and the kids can log in and they can play Rocket League from them still. The kids will go out and they'll buy their own controllers usually, or they bring those from home because they all have personal preferences. But, and then sometimes you might get some extra monitors if you're going to plug in a PS4 or a Switch or an Xbox into one. And honestly, monitors are pretty cheap these days. You can get a 32-inch monitor for $200, usually right on Amazon or Walmart or Target. So it just kind of depends on how high end you want to go. So,
yeah, one thing to touch real quick on too is, the fact that I know you alluded to this earlier with one Nintendo Switch, that's all you need to have one Super Smash Bros. Team. So definitely kind of a few different routes to go as far as that kind of all plays into it. Definitely a great way to get started though. One Nintendo Switch is enough to have a full team of Super Smash. So there's definitely a few other routes as well.
And so Nicole, I would say, because you guys have, it looks like you guys have Chromebooks, consider, and a lot of schools do this, they let students bring in their device from home. So they just check it in with their coach, at the start of the day. So they bring in their Switch or their PlayStation or their Xbox from home, and then we hook those up. So that would be a way around it. Or the school, sometimes I have principals that go out and they run to GameStop and they might buy a couple of used PlayStations or Nintendo Switches. They'll go on Facebook Marketplace and buy some stuff. So there are a couple different ways. There is a workaround with the Chromebook. You have to download this game app, which this is a long explanation. I'll try and be quick. Basically, there's an app that you can download on the Chromebook that allows you to play any sort of basically game. It gives you like 60 minutes of free time every day. And if you want to play more than 60 minutes, you have to pay per account, like $10 a month. So yes, it can be done on a Chromebook. It just adds some extra kind of steps to it. It would be easier not to, but and technically a Chromebook can play a lot of the games. There's just some extra steps involved. So, but like I said, Maggie will send out that IT spec guideline document with the follow-up resources that we send in the next day or two. I am not seeing any. So Jacob, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Jacob was I shouldn't say flew in, some of his colleagues flew in, but drove in because he lives right in Michigan with us to our event. So he's been super supportive at all our stuff. He's a great person to connect with. If you have any questions, Maggie and I are here as well. We, our goal is to get to 75 schools, 200 teams this spring, and that's going to be real close. Next year, we're going to surpass 100 schools and probably 250 teams. So it is growing like wildfire. It's not going anywhere. Georgia, for example, has over 50% of their high schools have an esports team. Michigan isn't there yet, but I honest to God think we will be there in 3 to 4 years probably. So we're looking to have you get on early and get started so you can get a lot of experience for everybody else who joins. But thank you for the time. Maggie will be following up in a couple days. Everybody enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thanks for attending.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, guys.